everybody. This is Mihi Nomen as Ms. Ice, and this is my student Max, and he tells me we have lots of new students, right, Max? Would you like to introduce one of them? Who's that?
Alita.
Yeah, because didn't we get splashed by Lolita when we went to the beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, who else do you want to introduce my class to? Maybe Talon. You should introduce them to Talon. We swam with him.
Well, guess what? He was alright here.
Okay. Anyway. Oh, yes.
This cat's name is Princess Kitty.
Oh, wonderful. Speaking of Princess Kitties, today in class we're going to learn about something known as passive voice. Now today what we did in actual Latin class was we learned about active voice. So remember, we put on the board and we put in our notebooks all 6 tenses of the what?
Active.
Very good job of the active voice. Now what we're going to learn today is that we take those same 6 tenses and we're going to double it. We're going to multiply it by 2. Does anybody know what 6 times 6, 6 plus 6 is? Anybody?
12.
Right. So now we're going to have a grand total of 12 verb charts. Let's first at least review or understand what the passive voice is in English. You will have 3 components of the active voice. I don't see any hands up at this point. So the 3 components of passive voice that you will have when you're rendering your new passive voice Latin verbs into English are these. Some sort of subject, so the person, I, you, he, Max, Brandon, whatever. The form of the verb to be, and you will always, I don't care what tense it's in, this last word, this last component, I'm going crazy, will have to have ed. All 3 components are necessary for the passive voice. The person, the form of the verb to be, and an ed verb. So, Ms. Ice loves Max. Active voice. Max is loved by Ms. Ice. I don't see any hands up. Now notice that this middle unit, it changes depending upon what tense it's in. So I'm going to let me just give one example here. I am loved. You. I'll change that again. So I am loved. I was loved. Those are 2 different tenses of the passive voice. I am loved, present passive. I was loved. I will be loved. So this is the only thing in the passive voice that changes. All right, my student had his hand up for a very long time.
We have 3 more new students.
Okay, who are they?
Do them quickly.
Do it very quickly.
This boy's name is Angry Bird.
Okay. Juan Calera, Max, very quickly.
I can't. No,
that's Panda. Okay. And that's Mr. Penguin. Wonderful. All right. So, can any of my students tell me how many components there are to the English translation of a passive voice verb? Cameraman, how many are there? All right, that is correct. Optime, cameraman. Now, no matter what tense the passive voice is in, what 2 letters must the actual verb end in? Cameraman?
E-D.
Excellent. You must understand this basic composition of the passive voice. That's how it's recognized in English. Now let's recognize it in Latin. Alright. So flip my page. All of this can be found on page 104. I am only focusing on the imperfect, future, and present passive. We're not dealing with the perfect tenses of the passive voice, at least today. That will be a different video. All right. So for the passive voice, you want to know this chart backwards and forwards. You're going to stare at this longingly. You're going to sleep with this chart at night. You are going to memorize this chart. You must know this chart. This chart is the passive voice equivalent of most must isn't. So remember how in active voice we saw most must isn't everywhere? In passive voice you're going to see this chart everywhere.
Look at the camera, not me.
So, ris, ter, mer, many, enter. I, you, he, we, y'all, they. I do have a cute little, whatever, chant, song, copy for this. So look at the chart while I sing this. Max, can you go like this while we do it? Ris, ter, mer, many, enter. Passive voice. Voice. Alright, there you go. Now, if you just see this attached to the end of a verb, that's present passive. I am loved, you are loved, we are loved. Oh my goodness. Scratch that. I am loved, you are loved, she, it is loved. We are loved, y'all are loved, they are loved. Happy Valentine's Day. So that's present passive. Now, do you remember what two letters we saw in the imperfect tense, active voice? Max? B-A. B-A is correct. All right, you're going to see B-A again in the imperfect passive. So if you put a B-A in front of every single one of these endings, voila, you have the imperfect passive. And again, this is on page 104. Bar, baris, batter, bomber, bombini, bomtor. We were, or I was being loved. You were being loved. She, here, it was being loved. We were being loved. Y'all were being loved. They were being loved. And just like in imperfect active, that BA equals was or were ing. So in this case, was or were being. The final tense that uses this chart is the future passive. So just like future active, it's be, not A. So when you have be, not A in front of this chart, will be blank. Bor, beris, bitter, bimmer, bimini, buntor. All on page 104. I will be loved. You will be loved. She will be loved. Isn't that like a song?
No.
That's Maroon 5.
Right. We will be loved. Y'all will be loved. They will be loved. Be, not A in front of this. Yes, Max.
Tomorrow is my Valentine's party.
How exciting. All right. So let's just instant replay. This chart with no endings, present passive, am, is, or are blanked. This chart with BA, was or were being blanked. This chart with be not A, will be blanked. Class, what I would like for you to do for homework, and I'll check at the very beginning of the period after we take our quiz over this video, I want you to translate these three verbs. Amanter, ama bater, and ama beris. So notice here, we just have verris, term, or many enter. Here we have a BA plus the ending. Here we have a B, not A, plus the ending. Take a second, write these three words down. Amanter, amabanter, amaberis, and have those ready to go and translated for tomorrow. You ready to say goodbye, Max? Let's wait. Valete discipuli. Hope you love the passive. Hope the passive is loved by you.